What are we gonna do when we get back?
What are we gonna do when we get back?
I take a shower and hit the rack.
Take a shower and hit the rack.
Welcome to Charlie Mike. If you're a combat veteran with an entrepreneurial bug and want to know what highly successful combat veteranpreneurs are doing to transform their sacrifice and experience to create their visual reality, then this is dedicated to your inspiring and fulfilling future. And now your host, Dwayne Perrell.
No way, gotta run, feet, lots of fun.
Invest in Yourself ebook is my free gift to you for listening to the show and becoming part of the CO Nation. To receive your free gift, please go to landmarklifecoaching.com. Thank you for joining us on this episode. There are so many veterans with the core strengths to become successful entrepreneurs and continue to make a huge positive impact on our country. Here we highlight the amazing successes of combat veteranpreneurs. Combat veterans, for the purpose of this show, are soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen who have served the United States in wars, campaigns, and in theater on foreign soil or hostile waters. Our guest today is William Tate. William recently joined the new Blazing Tech leadership team as their innovative CFO. He has extensive experience in working with both small startup company teams as well as employment with several leading Wall Street financial service firms. He has enjoyed a wide-ranging background in the financial planning and financial services industry. He first became a financial advisor in 1994. Since then, he has been a financial trainer, advisor, and manager in Silicon Valley with some well-known financial services firms such as Morgan Stanley. William is also the founder and creator of Money Landscape. Money Landscape is the first ever totally visual personal finance system and financial literacy platform for mastering personal finance. Money Landscape takes ordinary personal money management spreadsheet data and converts it into a totally visual financial accounts representation arrangement. Money Landscape might become the next generation financial information and data display standard for the American financial services industry. All right, William, welcome to the show, and thank you for being a guest.
Dwayne, thank you very much for having me tonight.
Great. I'm excited to have you tell our loyal listeners all about your journey from a combat veteran to a successful entrepreneur. Before we get into your entrepreneurial experience, can you please give our audience an overview of your military experience?
I'll be glad to. I started out when I was 17 and retired 18 years later from the Army Guard and Reserve. I did missions to Africa, Central America, Middle East, Europe. I did a couple of tours in the Gulf War, and I joined when I was 17. My parents let me join as a junior in high school.
Wow, yeah, that's funny. I also joined, when I was 17, and a few of my other guests have. I'm starting to see a trend with, those of us that joined the military early and then went on to become entrepreneurs after serving our country. So, some nice parallels that that you see in the people that come on the show. So that's great. So, so William, tell our listeners about the business that you're with now, Blazing Tech, and how you got into that.
Well, there is a national group called Bunker Labs, and Bunker Labs is Chicago-based. It's a veteranpreneur organization, and the idea was that the guys coming out of World War II, about half of them went into business, either directly or as a part of a business team, and there just hasn't been except for the VFW and Veteran Foreign Wars, American Legion, but there wasn't a business element. So a couple of years ago, there was a team that started Bunker Labs, and the idea was that folks coming out of service, be it active duty or some reserve component, wanted to start a business or get involved. And so my local chapter here in the central North Carolina part, where I am, is often called the Triangle, because the Research Triangle Park created a chapter based on the airport here called Bunker Labs RDU, Raleigh-Durham International Airport. So Bunker Labs RDU has an outstanding leadership team. That is Dean Bunchal is the executive director, and Michael Penny is the program manager. And with their leadership, they've brought in vets from all over North Carolina, to include Benjamin Bondare, the founder, creator, inventor of the Blazentech device. Now, Blazentech is spelled B-L-A-Z-N, tech like technology. It is the fastest and easiest way to clean any dirty gun. Whether you're on the range, hunting, between combat missions, your guns are going to get dirty when you shoot them. So you're going to need a fast, effective, easy, simple way to clean that weapon without disassembling, without breaking it down somewhere. So if you're coming off the range or hunting and you've had a really nice time firing your pistol, your shotgun, your rifle, and the killjoy is cleaning it, now you can whip out Blazentech, the first ever motorized weapons cleaning system, and stick that 300 RPM high torque brush, it's a stenciled nylon brush, into either the star chamber or the device where most of the grime sand builds up, and it just shines that puppy right up. So that's the cool thing about the Blazentech device, the first and ever, world's first and only motorized weapons cleaning system. I got involved because of Bunker Labs. Benjamin, who moved from the West Coast to Charlotte, North Carolina, back in, I think it was September. We met in October, and by November, he had brought me on as a CFO. I'm more of the COO, fill in the blank, to help him with the operations. But the Blazentech is a really cool device.
Yeah, so just to step back a step or two here, was this a product that was already developed and brought to Bunker Labs, or was it something as a result of the program that Bunker Labs has, you guys developed it there and, brought it to fruition?
Dwayne, that's an excellent question. What happened was Benjamin had developed this Blazentech device and kit out on the West Coast, and was looking for a vetrepreneur team to move it from the concept stage into the production stage. So he found me and a few other folks that have had a startup and business financial experience, and said, I've taken it as far as I can. Can you help me out? So to answer your question, it was already built, designed, gotten some traction, sold about 1,000 units, and now in 2017, we're just trying to take it to the next level.
Yeah, that's an interesting path, for our listeners to hear is, there's these opportunities out there, because some individuals may say, boy, I really want to be an entrepreneur, but I don't really have like the latest, greatest idea in my mind, and I'm not really sure what kind of product I could take to market. But, this is a great example of here's a product that somebody has created to some extent, has sold to some extent, but says, the really phase two, the real future of this is with a veteran-owned business. And, those people will be able to take this to, market the way it really needs to be based on, your networks and who you deal with and things like that. So, I think that is a very interesting story for people to hear.
Yeah, thank you. So to that point, Blazentech, I wasn't part of the creation, but I helped to be part of the acceleration part of this. But to step back into my entrepreneurial background, there was a song, I think, I don't remember the band. I think it was the Grateful Dead. It's been a long, strange journey. And it has been. I left financial services. I was a financial advisor, trainer, manager at Morgan Stanley in San Mateo, California, back in the late 90s and early 2000s. So I had seen the .com, .gone boom and bust in that period, and just basically trying to help folks figure out what they had, how to make sense of it. So because of my military background, because I was mostly a field soldier, you know how when we go to the field, when you're a ground troop, you have a map, And everybody that's on your team or in your unit gets basic land nav map orientations. So we learn the map first. It's a standardized piece of paper that represents the land. So the idea was that everybody has some basic understanding of the map, the colors, the patterns, the symbols, those kind of things. But there's not any of that in the financial services industry. So based on my experience as being a soldier and reading the map with the plastic overlays, the good guys are in blue and the bad guys are in red, and each symbol there meant something, and it was standardized. So what I did was I took that and created what I call My Money Landscape. I've shortened that to Money Landscape. And every time I would go to the whiteboard and draw out their people I was working with at Morgan Stanley and when I had my private financial consulting business, we'd take their spreadsheet data, assets, debts, and insurances, and turn that into a picture representation. So assets would be on the high ground and it'd be in blue or green, and then debt would be in brown and red, it'd be on the low ground, and then I would overlay that with insurances as they had. So after 10 or 15 minutes going to the whiteboard, we took this lifeless spreadsheet text and numbers data and then turned it into a picture, and everybody whipped out their cameras and said, wow, this is the easiest, greatest thing I've ever seen. I'm going to take this information, show it to my fill in the blank, my spouse, my other advisors, insurance bankers, brokers, whatever. And so now I've got a picture of this spreadsheet data. I've got a place for this to go in my mind. So that was my money landscape path. And the reason I mention that is because it was a great product or a great service to help folks, but I was a little bit cocooned because I was in the financial services industry. So it was my clients, and I thought it was the idea is to take this step back and create this company based on this product called Money Landscape. And it's still a great idea, and I'm still going to go forward with it. Someday it's my BHAG, my big, hairy, audacious goal. But there's too many moving parts. I could not make it go on my own. It's just, I'm not a software guy, I'm a financial guy, I'm a business guy, but you have to build the right team in order to move the right product from the whiteboard into something that you can launch tangibly and then get the right feedback. And I say all that because my guidance to other entrepreneurs or wannabe entrepreneurs that are listening is have the idea, build on it, get some feedback, make your mistakes on a friendly ground, and then try and move that forward. But get the right team. If you're not a software guy, find the right software folks. If you're not a marketing guy, bring the marketing folks on. Otherwise, you're going to struggle. And so the idea of having a team as opposed to a lone ranger is very important. And so I bring all that to say, Blazentech, Benjamin, who invented this, realized that he didn't have the right team or the team that he needed to move it from the concept into the production part. So that's what he's doing. And I wish somebody would help me with that back when I was doing Money Landscape years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are really great points. I mean, just to highlight for our listeners, you were able to take experience from the military with the color coding and making things, very obvious, even from a financial data perspective, where people could step back and look at it and draw conclusions, and it became very apparent what the data meant. And, doing this from a team perspective in iterative phases is another, amazing concept with being an entrepreneur and bringing anything to fruition, whether it's a service or a product. You can't be a lone wolf doing it. You've got to rely on other experts in the field that have certain backgrounds and things like that. And then being able to step back as an entrepreneur is hard, like you have, where you say, boy, I've got this great product, I've got this great service, I've got to have to put it on the shelf right now, though, because now either A, may not be the time, or I need to align the phases, or I need to make sure I have all of the team members in place so that when it's go time, we can go, all the way. And so, yeah, those are some amazing points for our listeners to hear.
No, you have summarized it very effectively, and that's exactly some of the challenge that I have suffered and learned from personally, and I see it all the time as a financial business advisor, working with small teams, startups. One of the great things about Durham, North Carolina, where I've moved to with my wife and our first son, he's 7 months old, good kid. Is that this is an entrepreneurial hub. It's Google Fiber's coming here. It's called, again, the Triangle, because you've got all this research in this area, but it's there's a lot of startups here, so it just makes sense that Bunker Labs and other civilian type startups are here to help you. So as one of my advisors said, if you're an entrepreneur and you don't get help here, well, it's a lick on you, because the help is here. So my point is to other entrepreneurs or want to be entrepreneurs out there that are listening, find some hubs. It doesn't have to be Silicon Valley, New York, Boston, Austin, or some of these other areas that are known for up and coming entrepreneurs. The Research Triangle in central North Carolina is a great area. We're happy to be here. By the way, I just want to tell a quick story that a lot of folks have found interesting. I was in San Mateo, California. I saw the Orange Revolution in Ukraine on television in November, December of 2004. I thought, well, that's kind of cool. I want to go and go to Kyiv and see what those young people are waving those big orange banners, yelling Yushchenko, Yushchenko, Yushchenko. So, of course, being military, 18 years Army guy, we had studied, the Soviet Union, and we'd studied Fulda Gap, and we'd studied, those things. So I sort of knew a little bit about Ukraine and the Soviet Union. But it got on my radar, so I got excited. I planned a trip the following summer, so I spent the whole month of June and July, August, I guess it was about 5 weeks, tooling around to all these tourist spots in Ukraine, and it changed my life forever. I came back to Silicon Valley in August, September of 2005, sold my practice to my partners there, and moved to Kyiv, Ukraine, just lock, stock, and barrel. And then spent the winter there, one of the coldest winters I've ever suffered. But then in spring, exactly, I moved down to the middle of the country, an area called Kirovograd, and I spent the next 10 years summering in Ukraine and wintering in somewhere in the U.S. And we moved to Durham, North Carolina, because of the startup community back in January of 2014. I actually, with my wife, who is from Kirovograd, Ukraine, we interviewed over Skype with the folks in Durham that were a startup hub and accelerator program called Groundwork Labs, sponsored by the North Carolina Economic Development. And we interviewed over Skype with Money Landscape, and we were accepted in the program, and we moved here. We didn't know anybody. We'd never been here. I knew about Durham and Raleigh and Chapel Hill as a hub for innovation and universities. But we're glad to be here. So I would recommend to anyone that if you can, move to an area where your entrepreneurial and startup resources and smart people can help you if you can do that. That's what we did. So that's why we're here, and we're finding all kind of startup and entrepreneurial support and opportunities.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think being surrounded by a network that close of so many different entrepreneurs, because it's great that the internet you can access and get to people and network with them, but that FaceTime is really important, especially when you're, like you said, whiteboarding, brainstorming, trying to hash out, the future of a product, service, or the organization that you're starting in general. So, and you meet so many like-minded people that the support is, you can't get it in any other way.
That's right. And frankly, having been in Silicon Valley for, 8-10 years, something like that, in the 90s, and even now, what I call there's smart money and then there's not so smart money. And there's actually smarter money, I think, here in central North Carolina than there is in Silicon Valley. And I'll tell you why. I saw a lot of really dumb ideas get funded because those guys in Silicon Valley are smart, but they often throw money against the wall because if they didn't, somebody down the street or down the hall might fund them and something might happen. So my point is there's smarter money here because the investors will do more due diligence. They'll ask more questions. They'll help more, as opposed to Silicon Valley. It's a very expensive place to live. We all know that there's some great companies that come out of there, but you don't likely hear about the ones that don't make it. And they still get a ton of money because you can't ever tell. So my point is it's easier to get help, a little bit harder to get funded, but if your product, service, your team is a good one, they'll find ways.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, here's another point. When I was a financial advisor, I started out Prudential Securities. I was actually in Memphis, and because I had developed a network where I got the clients to call me from all over the country on the phone and say, I would answer the phone, "Hi, William, who referred you and how can I help you?" So they thought that was kind of cool. But it took me some time to get there, and I just figured out a system that worked for me. If I'd ever have to call a stranger on the phone, I'd quit and have to do something else. So exactly. So I'm not good at the sales and marketing. I'm good at the customer service support and explaining things, especially in the visual sense. Mm-hmm. But my point is whatever industry you're going into, try and learn at least the basics, the blocking and tackling, the fundamentals on somebody else's dime. Work with a team or work with an industry that is going to pay you to come and learn those things that everybody needs to learn and have some experience in before you go out. There's an expression we have in the financial services industry we call learn on someone else's dime. Yeah. And the idea is literally, if you're going to learn, you're going to make mistakes, do it working for somebody else. There's no harm, no foul. Just like in the military, you learn leadership and organizational skills and all that. Military is a great place to start. That's why I recommend anybody, leaving 17 in high school. If you can get your parents to sign like I did, go ahead and do it. There's no downside. I was enlisted for the first 18 months. I went to Ole Miss, Tate. Got into the SMP program. I was commissioned at the end of my sophomore year at Ole Miss. I had already been to jump school between my freshman and sophomore year, and that's the same time I went to advanced camp at Fort Riley. So I was already parachute qualified, and that's when I got recruited into the local Special Forces unit, because I was a shaved tail lieutenant, but I had my jump wings, and I was a big guy, and I could carry lots of stuff in my ruck, batteries, water, extra radio stuff, all that stuff. So my first assignment was a Team XO on a Special Forces A team. And then, I got to go all over the planet, help a lot of people, see a lot of folks, and I felt like I had a pretty good career. I did the worst career management. I did all the fun stuff. I went to all the courses and fun things, but I didn't pick a path. I didn't go to some of the courses and educational things that you needed to create a career path. So after 18 years as a senior captain, the Forces Reduction Act came along, and my unit went away. So the Army Reserve or Guard or somebody said, well, look, we can give you option C. You can get out. You can get your 20-year letter now after 15 good years, and you'll be in the reserve, Red Reserve, the IR or something like that on some list in case we need you, and you'll get your pension when you're 60. Must be present to win. I'm on my way. Yeah. And, that was some time ago. That was 20 years ago. So, but my point is I did 18 years. I got to see a lot of places, help a lot of people globally. Gulf War was an interesting time for me. And I don't have any regrets other than I wish that someone had coached me a little bit more on my career and said, look, you need this school if you're going to pursue, going to make if you're going to be anything more than a senior captain, and the path to major is this, and then the path to colonel is this. So find some mentors, find some advisors that you trust, and figure out what it is you need to do to continue your career path in whatever you decide to do, because you don't want to look back later on and say, well, if I'd managed that a little bit better, I might have had these other options. I don't have any regrets. I'm just saying that I wish that I had known that this path was available, because I've seen it before. There's, hundreds of people that have gone in front of me and have different paths and still would have had the same success. I just wish that I'd have had a little bit more coaching and mentoring along the way, and it's a lick on me for not seeking it out.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I think whether you're an entrepreneur, you're working for a corporation, or you're in the military, having a coach or a mentor is vital to making sure that you are, you're holding yourself accountable to achieving certain things and getting to certain levels, and knowing too what you should do and shouldn't do to reach different levels. So yeah, that's applicable no matter what path you're on, and you should always continue that type of support through a mentor or coach.
Dwayne, you're absolutely right, and you can quickly tell if it's going to be a good coach or mentor for you or not. I mean,
oh, definitely, yeah. That's a key thing. Being a coach myself, that's you're not a coach for everybody, right? So when you have your initial discussions with people, you get both sides get a gut feel if okay, this person's going to work or this person's not going to work, and yeah, it definitely it shows up in the initial conversations.
Well, and to your point, don't try and be all things to all people, personally, professionally, otherwise. I mean, your business should be narrowed. I mean, you should politely disengage. One of the reasons I was so successful as a financial advisor is I would not work with anybody who did not take my advice. I mean, I really cared about my clients. I really cared to make sure that what I was giving them was fair, prudent, and the right thing to do. And I would show them literally on the whiteboard using the colored markers and the money landscape plan. And if they didn't get it or they didn't, appreciate what I would do, I would just politely take them down the hall and introduce them to another advisor who would be happy to take their business. Yeah. I had 30, 50, maybe 75 clients tops when I was an advisor in Silicon Valley. Most of them were millionaires. And the reason that we were a good fit for each other, they didn't suffer fools. I didn't either. I stayed on my path. I was very disciplined. I only worked with certain folks that I liked to work with, and they liked me. I was happy to go sit down over across their kitchen table and just, draw things out. And we never talked about fees. It wasn't a commoditized business. But there were guys down the hall that had thousands of clients, literally. I never saw it take a day off. They treated everybody the same. There was no hierarchy of what was better for these guys or whatever. It was a mill. And again, I'm not dissing anybody, but I never wanted to mill. Yeah. I wanted to know everyone by first name. If they called me, I could immediately pull up their account, what's your account number? I mean, it doesn't matter, I mean, I'm going to find you because we have this relationship. And I set up my business where I invited people to go with me to the South Pacific. I would be gone for 6 weeks at a time and come back and not have one phone call about they needed me or something like that. I would listen to guys down the hall talking about, the market's up today. And then next week, the market's down today. I'm like, I never have those discussions. The reason, it's like the weather. I have no control over the market, and you don't either. So stop talking about it. Start having discussions about things you can control and influence. That's how you divide up the pie. That's where you're going to spend your time, when you're going to retire. What is your life going to look like? And those are the kind of planning things that add value. Otherwise, you're just a commodity. You're just in there schmucking the business.
Yeah, let me ask you, William, what point did you know being an entrepreneur was meant for you? You had originally worked, you said, with Morgan Stanley and things like that. And so, what was that pivotal point, if there was one, where you said, I think I can do this in a different, better, whatever way as an entrepreneur?
Yes, thank you, Dwayne, for the opportunity to excel. All right. My Morgan Stanley career, I actually worked a little bit as a manager, team leader. I was at 66, the South Tower in New York, and I left in May 2001 to go to Silicon Valley, to San Mateo, California. So, of course, in September, they closed that office due to a bunch of, terrorists that, got on planes, decided all I wanted to fly them into those the World Trade Center. So anyway, I digress. So I was Morgan Stanley Blue. I was a management team in the San Mateo office, and I tried to help the new guys. I enjoyed training the new guys just like I did in the military. I was a trainer, advisor, and I was good at it because I enjoyed it. But at some point, I just felt like we were just, I left management. I went back and became an advisor. I developed new clients because they were referred to me again because accountants or attorneys referred them. But the limitations, and then again, I'm not dissing Morgan Stanley or anybody else. They have to have these limitations because they're a big firm, and folks could, they're deep pockets, much deeper than any independence guys. So if anything happened outside the coloring of the lines, they could come after you in the firm, and the firm has the deep pockets. But I just didn't feel like I was able to service the people I work with in a way that was comprehensive. And so I wanted to be able to practice what I preached, which was soup to nuts, lifestyle, the whole thing, without being a sales guy. And the way I got paid was selling products and services. I didn't have many commission things. I had what we call a fee for service, where it was a quarterly fee, and that put us on the same side of the table. But there were some other things that I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to help out in some other areas. And Morgan said, yeah, that's nice. You can talk that story, but just don't take any action on it. So I realized it wasn't a good fit for me. And again, I'm not dissing Morgan. All the firms are that way. And right now, every time I look at the Schwab ad where they're talking about lowering the fees, I can see where the big firms, the institutional Wall Street blue blood firms, are people starting to have that discussion about, well, you're kind of in a commodity business. So if I'm buying milk and eggs and bread over here and your fees are 4 times what they are you offering 4 times the value? Maybe not, particularly given all the opportunities to excel in other areas now. So my point is you've got to find your niche and a way to offer value that the fee question is relative, but not as important as the value added that you're offering for your business. So I wanted to offer value by having this comprehensive visual, including things like debt, insurances. So we got the whole soup to nuts. And so we could plan on, it's a snapshot. Here's where we are now. And then because it was a visualization, I wanted my clients to be able to see, to self-correct in their own by taking the pen and saying, here's a snapshot, here's what I need to clean up, and then I need to move over here. And I said, yes, you got it. I did not have to explain it to you. You saw it for yourself. And you can't do that from spreadsheet data. That spreadsheet text and numbers data has no soul. The picture has the soul. So that's when I decided I needed to move from out of the Morgan hat and the others, that put limitations on the business, into the independent side.
Yeah, that's some great points. I think, all entrepreneurs want to, at the core of what they're doing is they want to, have more of a personal touch and add value to whoever they're serving. And it is hard in a bigger company to be able to do that, like you said, because of the required guidelines that are there and protection for the organization and such. And so, yeah, that is, very common with entrepreneurs to branch out for that type of reason, and they want to have more control over, exactly like you said, how they're delivering the service or the product, not to be so cookie cutter or driven by a metric of some type to maybe make a bonus or something of that sort. So
you're exactly right. You've done this so many times. You get it. You intuitively get it, Dwayne. So good on you.
All right, thanks. All right, so as we're coming to a close here, it's been an amazing conversation. I just want to give you the opportunity, William, to let people know how they can get more information about you or get in contact with you.
Well, as I said, my current gig is with Blazin Tech, Blazn as in November Tech, Blazin Tech. So you can find me at william@blazintech.com. And we were at SHOT Show, huge Las Vegas, January, anything to do with weapons, hunting, firearms, and we spent a week out there. So we're on WeFunder right now, WeFunder.com/BlazinTech. It's a crowdfunding site, and we've got a little bit of traction. We've had our crowdfunding up for about 5 weeks, and we're close to 70,000. without any external marketing. All that is sort of internal. But you can find me at william@blazentech.com, and you can see me in action if you go to our WeFunder crowdfunding page, wefunder.com/blazentech, and click on the 3.5-minute video. I open it up talking about all the cool things that folks at SHOT Show love about the Blazentech motorized weapons cleaning kit and system.
Great. Well, thank you again for being on the show, and most importantly, thank you for your service to our country.
Dwayne, thank you for allowing me an opportunity to excel and be all I can be on the show. Thank you for your service as well. We're all veterans here, and if we can serve, because it is service, both in our military life, our veteran life, and in our entrepreneurial life, then we're doing God's work.
That's right. All right. Well, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Talk to you again. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Landmark Life Coaching's vision is to be the nation's premier coaching partner for inspiring and empowering those in transition. They partner with courageous groundbreakers and transitioning veterans to create fulfilling and empowering futures that they desire. They have partnered with various entrepreneurs and transitioning veterans to leverage their core strengths and implement the framework for the future they always dreamed of. Could you or anyone you know benefit from a success partner to bring clarity to your future or their future? If so, please check out landmarklifecoaching.com for more information and charliemikepodcast.com for the Charlie Mike Podcast, showcasing the successes of combat veteranpreneurs. Remember, loyal listeners, we are the home of the free because of the brave.
Thank you for tuning in to Charlie Mike Podcast with Dwayne Perro. Our objective is to bring successful veteranpreneurs to help inspire and provide insight into what helped them become successful, with the hopes you can take away various strategies you can implement in your entrepreneurial journey. Visit us on iTunes, leave us a rating and review, and let us know what you thought of the show. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Hoorah!